to stay.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Boards, a podcast dedicated to the actions and interests of skaters beyond skateboarding. My guest today, Madars Apse, grew up and started skating in Venstpils, Latvia in the early 2000s. He quickly got good at it and won local competitions, which landed him his first sponsors. Fast forward to today, at 33 years old, Madars has been pro for Element skateboards for nearly 10 years. He's traveled all over the world filming his show Skate Tales for Redbull, one of his longest standing sponsors, in which he immerses himself with local skate crews to learn more about their culture and how they approach skateboarding in their own unique way. Season 3 came out just a few months ago, and Madars got to meet with some pretty epic people such as Wes Kramer in San Diego, Richie Jackson in Barcelona, or Takahiro Morita in Tokyo, to name a few. So here's my conversation with Madars. I hope you'll enjoy it. Yeah, thank you so much again. Really stoked to get to talk to you. I've been a big fan of your skating for years now. I think we're pretty much the same age. You might be a couple years younger than me. You're like 33, 34, around there, right?
33.
33, okay. The age of Christ.
Yes.
So I usually start my interviews the same way with every guest and, ask my guest how he or she started skating. And I know in your case that you started in the early 2000s. You grew up in Latvia in a city called Venstpils.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about picking up your first board? How big was skateboarding in your area when you were growing up, and how did you kind of first hear about it, discover it?
Well, there were about 10 guys skateboarding, and they built a skate park close to my house. So I tried rollerblading, then I tried skating, and then I tried BMX, and then I went back to skating after that. But it was a small scene, Sometimes there would be a contest and people would come from the capital and skate in Venstpils. But the skate park was really nice. It had a lot of transitions and a very big area, so a lot of pushing around. And
Oh, so you already had access to a proper skate park while you were growing up?
yeah, when I was 10 years, then they built it. And at 11, I started skating. And there was maybe one guy before the skate park that used to skate street, but otherwise the scene was small.
And I think I heard somewhere that you have an older brother who gave you your first board or something like that?
Yeah, that was just skating on my knee when I was 6 or something. And then I wasn't even in Venstpils, then I was more in a countryside place.
Mm-hmm. How far is Venstpils from Riga? Is it very far or?
2-hour drive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Would
close.
you go out there a bit when you were younger, or were you kind of more staying in Venstpils? Was the skate scene more active where you were or in Riga?
No, I would travel wherever there's a skate contest or skate event or something, I would go. And in the winter time, I would go and seek shelter from the snow and skate my dad's garage and my friend's dad's garage and take a bus an hour and a half to another town for an indoor park. And then a couple of years later, we got our own indoor park.
Oh, nice.
Just pretty much like that, but always traveling, In the summer times, there would be contests every weekend, so I would go and participate and try to get the first place.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you remember maybe the first video or first mag that you got your hands on? And was that around the same time as you started, or did that come a bit later?
Well, when I started, it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, so I would just finish the game with every rider and watch their video. Otherwise, there was on Eurosport, there was this show called Yaws.
Okay.
It's about extreme sports, so I would watch that here and there, so see some European contests. And if I would win a contest in my hometown or in Riga, then sometimes they would give me a VHS tape. So I would have a couple of 411s, Adio One Step Beyond, America This Is Skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
And the first magazines were Trans World, because my stepdad would go to Belgium to buy cars and then sell them out here.
Okay.
So on the way, he would stop in Germany and buy Monster, Skateboard Mag, and Trans World, and any magazine with skateboarding that he would see. So pretty much, yeah, watching TV, recording the stuff on my VHS, and then rewatching it over and over again, getting hyped to go skate every day.
Did you have like kind of a favorite skater growing up? Someone that influenced you a lot in your early years of skating, or?
There were many skaters, you know. I don't know, like when it was the Tony Hawk days, then it was Bob Burnquist, maybe. Then later it was Jason Adams watching some 411s, and then one step beyond, you know, Kenny Anderson. Then watching some Transworld videos later. Or when I got finally the Habitat Mosaic VHS tape, then it was Janoski.
Oh, yeah.
Danny Garcia, and...
Oh, so you liked all kinds of skating, because like these guys are on a wide spectrum of types of skating.
Yeah, Tony Trujillo, you know, was sick. His part in Bloom was amazing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Evan Hernandez, Ryan Sheckler, Paul Rodriguez. I don't know, I like all sorts of skating, you know.
Yeah.
Brian Herman, Spanky, Reynolds. But in the end, it was like Janoski that I really got obsessed about. And I was skating in slip-ons and just doing tray flips and trying to make it look all easy, 1 foot catch, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned earlier doing competitions, and I read somewhere that you had done quite a bit of competitions when you were growing up. I think you even started very early, right? Like maybe even in your first year of skating, you were already competing.
In 2001, August, I started skating, and in 2002, in May, I participated in a contest, which was like the Youth Olympics in my hometown. I got that first place, and that kind of gave me the encouragement to keep going.
Did you do a lot of competitions in the following years? Because like I know that today you're, at least to my knowledge, not really doing any, but is that something that you were focused on a lot in your early years of skating?
Yeah. I was always going for the trophies and trying to get those first places, you know. But yeah, every weekend. Then I would go to Germany for Münster. In Münster, there was like a youth contest too, up until 16 for all the kids, and there was like 100 participants. And I got maybe 16th place or something like that, so that was cool. Then I would always go to Simple Session because that's close by in Estonia. And yeah, the Skateboard Federation in Latvia, rest in peace to the guy that was the organizer. He would do every weekend like a contest in Latvia, some other town. So my parents would take me, or I would go with friends, and I would compete with my other friends. And it was a good time, like a lot of progression. But mostly I progressed when I would go to Ethnic European Open contests. It was every year there was the main contest in Basel, Switzerland. Went there like 3 or 4 times. Then Munich maybe twice. Then in Poland I went 2 times for Ethnic European Open in Sweden. Because there was like a website, you know, skateboardeurope.com or something. And then there all the contests were written. And that's how I made my schedule for the year. And I would go with my mom and my stepdad, or with my dad, or with my friends. Like in my hometown, we had a organization. Rest in peace to the lady that started it, but it was called Venstpils Extreme Sport Team. So it's Vest, like West.
Oh, yeah.
We're on the West, but with a V instead of W.
Okay.
One time we went to Mystic Cup to Prague with them, so that was cool with buddies. And then another time with my friends from Riga, went to Mystic Cup too. And every time when we go to Mystic Cup, we always stay a couple more days to skate the Stalin Square.
Oh, yeah.
And then once I got to go to Basel, Switzerland, and meet the Element Europe guys, then I met the homie Pirkka Pollari, and he would invite me to Finland. Then I would go skate the Helsinki Pro Skate, sometimes by myself, sometimes I'd go with my parents. Sometimes to Simple Session, it would just be me and my stepdad. So one time I went to Russia with some BMXer guys on the train. My back was hurting because I was growing, so I couldn't skate. But it was still a cool trip to see the Circa team there. And yeah. Pretty much those were my contest days. And then in 2008 I moved to Barcelona and never skated a skate park again.
moving to Barcelona, having access to such an amazing city for skating, do you think that's when you kind of switched to like more street skating, I guess, at least not competing anymore much? Was it like a conscious decision to quit competition, or?
I wouldn't say it was a conscious decision. I would just say that I wanted to skate street, film for the Element Europe video. And just before I got on Element Europe, they released this video, Rise Up.
Yeah,
and that video was super sick video. Yeah. I was a big fan. Great music, great editing, great skating. And I just wanted to be part of that, and I got a chance to be part of that. So I didn't really care about much other stuff. I mean, if I was invited to go somewhere, yes, I would go to Simple Session. I would still go to Basel maybe once, still go to Mystic Cup maybe one time more, but then kind of transitioned into street skating, filming for the next Element Europe video. And then the homie Levi Brown came down from California to Barcelona, and I got to meet him, and then he invited me to go to visit him in Cali, and I was like, oh, Cali for sure. So I went there and started filming with Ricky the dude over there, Ricky Beatball. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I would try to skate some contests here and there. I went to Tampa soon after, and in Tampa my knees were just shaking, and I don't know, one time I got in Simple Session 2nd place, and that's about it. That was the best contest performance on an international level that I ever did. Otherwise, it was just like some best tricks here and there. But yeah, I was focusing on street skating, and I was studying in Barcelona, so I had to do university in Barcelona. There was a contest in Barcelona sometimes too, so I would participate there. I would always have struggled to qualify to the semis, I never made it to the semis. Sometimes I would, but then when it's the best trick time, when there's just 10 or 15 minutes to do one trick instead of 1 minute to do as many tricks as you can, that's when I thrived a bit more. But so I just focused on skating street because that's what I wanted to do. Deep inside I wanted to be like Janowski, like just tray flipping on the way to the store.
Yeah. And actually, you mentioned Element. Like, when did you get on? Because I know that you turned pro for them about 10 years ago, like in 2013, 2014, around there. At what point did they get you on their like flow program?
Well, I would always go to those Ethnic European Open contests, and sooner or later the guy kind of noticed that I'm there. He sees I'm wearing an Element shirt, riding an Element board. So he's asking me where I'm from, and he's like, oh, the distributor, Boards LV, yeah, I know the guy. He told me about you, your Madars. And I'm like, yeah. So he gave me his card. So the next time I go to Basel, they already kind of hooked it up for me. Like, they let me stay in their hotel, And I don't know if that was the first year. Maybe the first year I just like gave him my like CV type of thing to show him all the medals I got in Latvia and all my diplomas. Sick. So I gave it to the team manager. He laughed a little bit. I gave him a CD with my video part that I filmed in the street because in those days I was only doing contests. But on the side I was already filming street too with my buddy. I already had like 3 video parts filmed in Latvia, so I sent it to him, and the year after that I stayed again together with the Element guys in some hostel, not nicest hotel, but it was still really cool to be with the guys, and then, or even maybe one time was even a nice hotel, but whatever. Kind of stayed with them, and then I was like, all right, I gotta make friends with people on the team or something, So I did, and I went to visit Pirkka Polari in Finland and skated with them and got onto his team of wheels. He had Perus wheels.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So I was skating on Perus wheels and filming with Pirkka. Lots of stories in between. But in 2008, when it was time to move to Barcelona, they told me they will put me on Element Europe and they will give me a little salary. Okay. And I was like, shit, I already paid for my university. That was my first reaction.
Yeah. So you applied to university, and afterwards you learned that you were getting on the Element Europe team, right?
Yeah.
And if you had learned it before, you might not have applied to university. Is that what you mean, or?
Maybe, but I don't know if my parents would have let me.
Yeah. I know that you studied business. You did a master's degree later in Latvia, I believe.
Yeah.
How did you manage to do that, like to do both things? Because I guess it must have been a lot of traveling, and I assume Element and your other sponsors were like asking for a lot of footage or asking you to go on some trips and everything. Like, how did you manage to do both things at the same time? It must have been quite challenging.
I think the school was scheduled in a way that people could work during the day. In the morning and during the day they could work. Mm-hmm. And it's Monday to Thursday, so Friday is off most of the time. So on the weekends, if there's like a skate trip somewhere, then instead of going on the whole skate trip, I would just go on Thursday evening, I would fly, or Friday morning I would fly. And skate Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning fly back. And my school would usually start at 4 p.m. 2 p.m. maybe sometimes, but mostly 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. That was the school, so I could skate before that.
Okay.
And I was in Barcelona, so it was pretty much kind of like a dream now that I look back at it, you know?
Yeah.
The school was on top of a hill, and I would take the metro up there and then skate back home, 30-minute downhill.
Nice.
And then, yeah, just warm, cool sea, nice friends, and people from, like, the skate scene always coming in. And then Magba parallel, just, like, in my backyard, you know, learning Spanish and meeting all these people and skating, filming, you know. It's a good time.
Were there other skaters that you hung out with at the time that were also studying, or were you kind of the only person doing both things?
I was pretty much the only one. I mean, of course, there were some homies from Sweden that would also be studying, but they weren't like pursuing a skate career like I was, I guess. Because I was on Vans, trying to get on DC, Quicksilver, Element, you know.
And do you remember what made you choose to study business? Like, did you have a plan in mind as to what you wanted to do with your degree eventually once you completed it? You were like, I'm just going to study business and we'll figure it out, kind of?
Yeah, because I was just interested in skateboarding. And business, I guess you could apply it to any form of life. That's what my parents were saying. And so I went for the business. Mm-hmm. And very soon I realized that, this is a bunch of blah, 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 you know, just talking, and not much doing. But whatever, I finished it, and then I even kept studying for masters. But I don't know, it's like a safety net, you know?
Yeah, for sure. When you look back on it today, do you feel like it was useful and that in the future it will be useful in a way, or do you feel like it was just...
I don't regret anything. I appreciate all the lessons I had and all the people that I met and all the studies that I did. I appreciated it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it's really going to help me in the future. Perhaps if I ever have to give my CV to someone, maybe it would help. But I'm sure anything that I hear, anything that I read, anyone that I meet inspires me in some way. So for sure it helped, you know. It helped me to become me.
So you were in Barcelona for a few years. I think then you spent a year in London and eventually you went home to Latvia, right?
Yeah, a year in London, and in the summer I traveled, and then I met a lady and settled down with her in Riga for a couple of years.
Right. And I think you were living in Portugal recently, right? For a little bit.
Yeah. Just last 2-3 years.
Are you still kind of living out there a bit, or is that done at this point?
It's done. My car is there. I'm gonna go next month to pick it up and drive it back to Lithuania.
Oh, wow.
But me and my lady, we like to surf, so I'm sure we will go back to Portugal, but it's not like I have a house there or anything. Mm-hmm. My girl signed up for university here in Lithuania, so it doesn't make sense for us to live in Portugal anymore. But we can go for a month or two and surf somewhere down south, maybe Spain, maybe Portugal. That's kind of the plan. Maybe France.
This is kind of random, but I just wanted to ask you about this project because I remember seeing that when it came out and I really loved that one. It was the Cuatro, sueños, pequeños film from Thomas Campbell.
Yeah.
You were in that project with him and it was filmed by Fred Martin, French Fred. Mm-hmm. Where he shot some photos. I don't remember if he was filming himself.
Filming.
Oh, he was filming us also.
He was the main filmer. Thomas was also, he was the skate. Fred was filming more like lines and stuff, like skateboarding footage. And Thomas was doing the visual direction and from his way to So Thomas, the producer, Fred, also a second filmer, and then there were 3 different photographers: Gaberman, Sam Rubio, and Anton Miettinen.
Okay.
3
nice.
amazing photographers. So
Yeah, I don't know
we
the
did a
last
couple
one,
trips.
but yeah. What's his name, the last one? Anton?
The last one is Anton. He was shooting photos with the Flip guys when they were in Barcelona, and he's friends with Arto, and he was the Quicksilver photographer for a while. Quicksilver had a skate team. So Anton is one of the best skate photographers in Europe for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's refocused to shooting bicycles, cycling.
Okay.
But it was cool. Anton was like one of my best friends when I was living in Barcelona, and we would play poker together and go shoot photos, and he put me on Quicksilver, and Javi was making this film for Quicksilver, so Javi wanted another skater, and it was me.
Oh, so Javier Mendizábal was the one who got you on that project, or?
Yeah. It was his idea, Javi's project.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like Thomas's idea, basically. And okay, so it was more like Javi had this idea for a film, and he got Thomas and Fred and you, kind of everybody in the mix.
Yeah, because Javi was skating for Quicksilver. He wanted to do something special, and he had met Thomas maybe 10 years earlier when Thomas came to Spain. So he wanted to do something cool, and Cuatro, sueños, pequeños came out pretty rad, I think, and it was cool trips. Everything filmed on 16mm.
Yeah. It's really cool. Yeah, I watched it again a few days ago and really enjoyed it. Like it's still very, very enjoyable and feels quite current still. Like the level of skating and the way it's filmed and everything. It doesn't look like an old video kind of, It looks quite new.
Yeah, it stands the challenge of time or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but that was a sick project. Yeah, and do you remember how long it took to film the whole thing?
There's maybe 5 trips. I went on 4, Javi did an extra 1 or extra 2, and it's all mostly filmed in Spain. Pretty much 99% filmed in Spain. Just a little bit, there's like one helicopter shot that Thomas filmed in Santa Cruz in the forest, but it's a forest, so it could be anywhere.
Okay.
But it's all like Spain, like all over Spain, south, north, the Canary Islands.
Did you guys shoot this while you were still living in Barcelona and studying out there, or was that afterwards?
Yeah, while I was studying in Barcelona.
I want to ask you also about Redbull, of course, but as you said, you were like basically a competition skater, so to speak, growing up, at least, focused on that for the first few years, and then got really into street skating. And at what point did you start traveling? Because I feel like you're one of these guys, kind of like Kenny Reed or other skaters that are really known for traveling. And of course, today it's showcased in your Redbull TV show. But like, at what point did you start traveling like a lot? Was there a year where you were like, oh wow, like I'm traveling all the time now? Like,
maybe 2006. In 2008, I started to study in Barcelona, but in 2006, I started to do more European contests and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And doing trips with my homies, because in Latvia I got like not a scholarship, but some youth organization gave me like 100 euros every month to do my skateboard stuff. Mm-hmm. So I used that money for travels. And then in 2008 I got on Element, 2009 I got on Vans, 2010 it was DC, Quicksilver, and on Redbull I was already from 2006, I think, yeah. But in 2008, I was already 18, so Redbull could really use me as an energy drink athlete.
Right.
And that's when also Redbull started kind of doing all those trips with different filmers to remote locations all over the world. And it just every year, starting from 2006, every year up until COVID, it was just getting more and more.
Before COVID, how much of the year were you traveling, would you say? Was it like half the time or more, like 60, 70% of the time traveling? Or?
Yeah, probably more than half, I would say. Always going somewhere, being home maybe once every 3 months, every 2 months I would go home. And then, yeah, always on the road.
I don't know how it was for you, the beginning of COVID. Like, was it hard to not travel all of a sudden and have to stay in one place, basically?
I was in California when it started, so I was traveling.
Okay.
I was already on a trip, not really on a trip, staying with my buddy. And instead of staying for 3 weeks, I stayed for 3 months. And after those 3 months, the border was already kind of open, so I could go home. And it was pretty chill. I really benefited from COVID. It was easier. If you've seen my domino part, that's mostly COVID.
Okay.
Because of COVID, I could go back and do that handstand grind. Because of COVID, I could do the no stall, nollie heel over the hydrant and 1 foot board slide on the wall rail and the drop in on the roof, on this roof rail. It's all because of COVID, I feel like. Because otherwise, I wouldn't have stayed in California that long. I would have went home and would have been with clips that I would have had. But
so a lot of that part was during COVID times. Okay.
Yeah, I could go skate. The cops wouldn't want to get out of the car and the places were just closed, so it was nice.
So you mentioned Redbull earlier, like it was one of your first sponsors, right? Like you said, it started in 2006, so maybe not the very first, but it was like among the first sponsors that hooked you up.
Yeah, I've been on Redbull almost 20 years, but on Element, it's been 20.
20 years in Element. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, congrats. That's incredible.
Since 2003, for sure, yeah. 2003, I was already on the skate shop getting BAM boards. Yeah, BAM, one of my favorite skaters, too. BAM Margera, for sure.
Yeah. And you actually got, I don't know if it was the first time meeting him for you, but like you actually did a Skate Tales episode with him, right?
Yeah. I think King of the Road was before Skate Tales.
Oh, you had met him at that time?
On the King of the Road, yeah, we had to get a member of Jackass in the band.
Cool.
So Bam was there. That was kind of the first time. And he's like a friend of my buddy Winkle in Barcelona. So kind of mutual friends, and Winkle is the main hookup there.
So tell me about getting on Redbull. Like, how did they approach you? And like, I was wondering, what was your initial feeling about getting on Redbull? Because Redbull being like an energy drink and not like a, so to speak, core skate brand or whatever. Were you a bit reluctant at first? Were you like, oh, like this is maybe not the best move or something? Like, did you have people around you to help you navigate picking sponsors and stuff like that? Like, tell me about just getting on Redbull and what were your thoughts on them approaching you?
Well, it was 2005 when I got the second place in Simple Session. Maybe 2006, but I think it was 2005. And then the woman from Redbull Latvia was like, hey, you skate really good and we're looking for somebody to endorse. And you're not old enough yet to get the branding, whatever, but we will support you. We will do little tours with you. And I don't know, I don't think they paid, but they were doing tours with me and activating me and I could do stuff. So I was like, hell yeah, I was definitely hyped and I didn't have second thoughts or nothing like that. I didn't really have like big sponsors or big like judgments or whatever I wanted to do with my life. I was just 16, 15, so I was hyped that there's this company that wants to do stuff with me and yeah, I'm thankful for that they approached me and soon after a couple of years, that's when I got really on the team, which means that I get the hat.
Yeah.
And I get paid. And then I was like, oh no, I have to wear the hat. Then I will be the contest skater. Because most Red Bull guys at that time in 2007 were just skating contests.
Who was on the team at that time? Do you remember? I guess Sheckler was probably already on, or?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Sheckler for sure. I remember Mac McKelton, Philip Schuster in Europe. Yes. But there's no Red Bull team. Every country has their own team, and it's the team filled with different kind of athletes, different sports.
Right. Yeah.
Only recently Red Bull is doing like a global type of thing, like a global team, but otherwise there was no such thing.
Okay.
But whenever I would see a Red Bull athlete, I would see just like a contest skater, and I didn't really want to be the contest skater.
Yeah.
But I like to get paid for what I'm doing for skating, and it kind of helped me a lot in my career and helped me to support skate scene in Latvia, to build all these different cool things and get to travel to South America so much. and to Asia and all over the world. Like nowadays, I went to Africa, Japan, and we're thinking a way how to go to Australia. And Redbull made me build like concrete park in Riga and fix the ledges at the National Library and build some skate obstacles at the National Museum of Art. And
that's rad, yeah.
I have that show on Redbull, which is pretty cool. Kind of like a new pathway in my career. It's not just skate, but I'm also hosting a skateboard travel show.
Yeah. I want to ask you about that, of course, but like, I actually like, I know that before Skate Tales you were doing It's a Mad World, right? Which was kind of the, I guess...
antagonist.
Yeah. But it felt a bit more like DIY, like it was, I think, filmed mostly on GoPros and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think you had like a big production or like filmers with you. It was mostly like you doing the whole thing yourself. But that was not with Redbull, right? That was with a different production company.
Yeah, it was with Big Balls Productions.
All right.
from London. And they basically said, hey, here's some money for you. We want you to be the skater on our YouTube channel. There's a skater, a biker, surfer, snowboarder. And I was the skater.
Okay.
And they gave me some money and they're like, hey, you need a filmer. So I got my buddy Travis, who is from Arizona but lives in Finland. And he was filming.
Okay.
So most of the episodes, it's like 50-50, but I think mostly it's with Travis. So Travis would sometimes come on the trips and film the behind the scenes with his kind of bigger camera. But if not, then I would just have my GoPro, because there was like, we had to do 24 episodes a year, then 12 episodes a year, and had to keep up with the schedule. So I would film, then I would send all this stuff to Travis. He would edit it, put some music, and boom, that was our work.
Okay.
And yeah, it wasn't my idea to start the show, but the guys from Big Balls, they kind of approached me and said, hey, would you like to do this? We have a budget. And I was like, ooh, it's kind of a good budget. And at first I didn't really want to do it.
What year did that start? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but probably 2012, 2013 or something. I got like Skater of the Year, Kingpin European Skater of the Year.
Yeah.
And the guys from Big Balls Productions were in the audience and they saw my thank you video, because at the moment I was in New Zealand. So I sent them a thank you video and where I skate down the hill and fall at the bottom of the hill. And they were like, this is the guy we need. So they reached out, and in the end I said yes. So we did a couple seasons, and then my buddy Danny Milan, skate filmer from Barcelona. Yeah. Well, he lives in Barcelona, but he's from the Canary Islands, from Tenerife. Mm-hmm. He thought that he can do something better, like with this show. This show could be better, you know. But he's not the only one. Like, also my buddies were saying that It's a Mad World is cool, but it's like all over the place. You need to like focus it on someone. Do it on some person, and every episode on someone. That's actually my friend told me that.
Okay.
And then eventually Gaston Francisco, the skate photographer, he was also the DC Europe team manager, and he was doing all the Redbull trips. Mm-hmm. And then he asked me, would you like to do a skateboard travel show? Would you like to be a host on our show? So it's more like Gaston's idea with Danny, and I was just like, all right, I'll be the host. And that's how it came about.
What year did Gaston kind of pitch you the project? Was that, I think the first season of Skate Tales was like 2019. So I assume it was maybe a couple years before that, like maybe 2017.
2017, yeah. Winter of 2017, I imagine. Yeah, and then it was crazy. It's just me, Danny, Gaston. We're flying to like Bam's house. We're flying to skate with Dan Mancino at Beaver Fleming. And Gaston was filming. He was doing the second angles. And I was the only skaters. And we would just rent a car somewhere in America and just go to this place. And then bust it out. And the first season was a bit sketchy, as you can maybe tell by the quality, but
it was cool. I mean, you still had some cool guests and episodes.
Second season we had a second filmer already too, so Gaston was only producing, shooting photos, and then we have two filmers and me.
A bit more organized. Okay.
And when the first season came out, I don't think it came out in 2018, like you say. I think the first season came out in 2021.
Oh, really? Okay.
When it was COVID, when COVID hit.
Okay. Yeah,
I think it was 2020. COVID started in 2020.
Right.
Anyways, when COVID started, that's when it came out.
Okay.
And then everybody was at home, everybody's watching, so we get so many views.
Yeah. So you did 3 seasons in 3 years, basically.
Nah. We started probably filming in 2018, and then finally came out maybe 2020. Then already in 2020 we already maybe started filming. We were taking breaks, and always during COVID especially it was kind of hard to travel. We went to Madrid when it was the peak of COVID in Madrid, so we couldn't even go downtown. Or if we did, then we had to be very careful, If I'm skating, people are shouting at me why are you not wearing a mask? I'm I'm doing sport, I'm skating. But we were fine, nobody died. In the end, nobody got the COVID from the crew, and it was all right.
Can you tell me maybe about figuring out the layout of a season? Do you sit down with Gaston and the Redbull team and throw in ideas of, okay, let's do one episode with Bam, let's do one with this person, let's go to this country or this city? How do you build a season?
Just like you said, I give some ideas to Gaston, or he shoots over his ideas, what he has. Mm-hmm. And then he has a list of 20 to 30 scenarios and proposes them to Redbull, and Redbull chooses 6.
Okay. I don't think I've watched all of the episodes, but I've watched most of them, and especially this latest season was really cool. I really enjoyed the one you did with Takahiro Morita in Japan.
Mm.
Yeah, there were a bunch of really good ones. And I guess one angle that you're kind of exploring with this show is to explore ways of skating that are not the norm, kind of people that are skating in a very specific way. Is that kind of what you aim for, to shine some light on types of skating that are not as known, kind of?
Yeah. That's what Gaston really kind of pushes for, and me too, I like that. But it's we do one legendary, pro skater that is super from the scene.
Like a Mike V or someone like that?
Mike V or a Wes or Bam.
Oh, right. Yeah. The Wes one was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I was surprised to see him do that because he seems like a very under-the-radar kind of person. He's not on social media and everything. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see him in an episode of Skate Tales.
Well, Wes is a good friend. Gaston used to be the DC team manager. I was skating for DC. So with Wes, we would meet every other month and travel the world. Go to South America, go to Asia, go to around Europe, go to Italy, Spain, Germany, Hungary, everywhere.
Yeah.
So with Gaston and Wes and me and Danny and Edu, Emilio as well now, but we're all friends. We're friends since a long time, and Wes made it clear that he filmed this episode because he needs an excuse to hang out with us. It's a great excuse, just to spend a week together with the homies and have fun,
So, not very long ago, Redbull released Season 3, and whoever's listening to this, I highly recommend they go check out all the episodes. Are you already working on a Season 4, hopefully, and when can we expect some new episodes?
Well, we're having meetings about people who we should do it on at the moment. And then as soon as these meetings are over, maybe in a couple weeks, and then in October, I imagine we're going to start filming. October, okay. November, December, January filming, and then another 5 months of editing, so...
Maybe next summer?
Next summer, yeah, next spring, summer should be coming out.
Okay.
Hopefully, you never know.
Yeah, of course, yeah, fingers crossed.
We did an episode in Russia too, and it never came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask you if there were episodes that were discarded, so to speak, that were not kept.
We spent the whole budget, bought the tickets, spent the whole week in Russia, had a good time, filmed everything, battled, did interviews, and homies got sick and whatever, and the episode's not coming out because of the war.
Right, yeah. Was that around the time when there was this big event in Nizhny Novgorod, right?
Yeah, we went to Nizhny.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the event, but I remember Kirill Korobkov telling me about that, yeah.
Grand skate tour.
Grand Skate Tour, that's right.
GSD, organized by the Russian Skateboard Federation.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be one next weekend in Moscow.
And so you had to not release this episode because of the war and everything.
Yeah, because Redbull is very, politically they have to be very careful about what they do, sure. And because they get a lot of backlash, and so they're careful with those sensitive subjects. Because such a big company, and people here and there, they didn't make the right choices, and then everybody from the company gets to suffer.
And of course, you probably can't tell me who you're gonna film episodes with yet, but do you have maybe people that are dream guests, people that you would love to go hang out with for a future episode of Skate Tales? Do you have a kind of a bucket list of people that you'd like to go visit?
Yeah, I guess. Would be sick to do Mark Gonzalez, but that's never gonna happen because to spend 5 full days with him that is so busy creating and has a family,
Well, never say never. I mean,
never say never.
You got Wes on, so anything could happen.
Wes is the homie, that's why.
Right, yeah. But still, he's, as I said before, he was an unlikely candidate, so to speak, him being so low-key and everything. So Mark Gonzalez would be sick. Takahiro Morita as well, I was really surprised, wow, can't believe he's doing this, that's amazing. So Mark Gonzalez would be a great one for sure.
Yeah, Takahiro was down. Then Andy Anderson is very likely that next season we might have him.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I haven't talked to him yet. I said that maybe we could do it with you, and he said, yeah, for sure.
Oh, he would be great.
We still haven't decided on what we're gonna do, but Tony Hawk we tried, and he's very busy too.
Yeah.
Rodney Mullen doesn't even like to be in front of the camera. Now, thinking about some episodes in Australia, perhaps. I forget the homie's name, or in New Zealand, the skateboard artist, OG skaters, with dreadlocks, he lives in the forest, Lee Ralph.
Oh, yes, I've heard of him, yeah. That would be cool, yeah.
Then I recently got in touch with Peter Hewitt, but I don't know, we might do another bowl skater this season, we'll see. But I would love to meet Peter, Peter is amazing.
Yeah, legend.
Janowski, my favorite skater.
Oh,
I didn't even think of it, but it would be sick.
That would be amazing, yeah.
But you never know. You never know what all these people's approach would be to get their video on Redbull TV or whatever. Maybe they're not down. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah, but I guess if they look back at some of the episodes you've been doing, they might be convinced. If they see that, Takahiro and Wes and people like that, of that caliber, of that, that are legit street skaters and everything, agreed to do an episode, maybe that will convince them.
Yeah, there's so many cool characters in the skateboard world.
For sure, yeah.
Do you have any recommendations? Anyone you would like to see Skate Tales on?
I would need to think about that for a second, but yeah.
Well, you can send it to me via message later.
I will. And so, changing gears a little bit, but I wanted to ask you just about your sponsors, because we mentioned Element, you've been writing for Element for 20 years, and you've been on DC shoes for a very long time as well. You've been super loyal to both companies, and I know that both companies, especially DC right now, I guess they're reorganizing, or I don't know what's going on. The team kind of changed a little bit, we just mentioned Wes, I think he's not skating for DC anymore. And also Evan Smith left DC not too long ago. And Element also went through a lot of changes through the whole 20 years that you've been there. So yeah, I was just wondering how has been this whole experience skating with these companies, and how's it going today?
Well, it's been the most amazing experience. Because I never really believed that I could be a pro skater. I was just a skater. I'm just a skater, and then moved to Barcelona to study. Then didn't move, but kind of went to California a lot to skate. And then next thing you know, I'm filming with Ricky the Dude, and he said he wants to film a part with me. And then I'm skating together with Chad Tim Tim on the session.
Yeah.
And I watched his A Time to Shine part probably 1,000 times. Going to a house party with Darrell Stanton, you know.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then next thing you know, like I got to meet Wes Kramer, like one of my favorite skaters too, and skating with Marius and Wes. And then Mark Appleyard is there. Like I'm just there, Mark Appleyard's sidekick for the tour, you know, like just rolling it up for him, you know. but it's been amazing, you know. In the van with Nigel Houston, like I go to California, I'm all jet lagged, sleepy at night, like we're at this handrail somewhere in Arizona, and I'm just sleeping on the ground, and Nigel's jumping on the 16-stair handrail right then.
Yeah.
And then there's, on DC, there's Chris Cole, you know, I get to hang out with Chris fucking Cole, and
that's right, yeah.
Matt Miller, Mikey Taylor, you know, Marquise Henry and Cyril Jackson, and I don't know, you know, just going to a cafe in LA, and Stefan Janowski is there having breakfast with his lady, and then Yanni Laitiala comes to California, and I get to spend a couple days with Yanni, staying at his place and filming, and I don't know, you know, life is kind of real, you know, it's not just on film and on videos that I get to see these people, but I got to see them in real life. I got to travel the world with them, and as you say, like Kenny Reed, I've always been inspired by Kenny Reed and Patrick Wallner and Nestor Judkins and those guys that do visual traveling,
right?
Always traveling the whole world, and now I get to meet them, be friends with them, and go on tours together and go to these unique locations that no skaters have ever went. So it's just been kind of amazing, you know. And then ever since I started skating for Element, my salary been slowly like increasing until a couple of years ago it kind of went, I got like a big cut.
Okay.
Because there was budget cuts in the organization. The company I skate for went bankrupt already 3 times, and it's been bought by some other company, so there's always this restructuring. And I think now Volcom, DC, Element, Quicksilver, Billabong, Roxy, it's all the same company, you know. The same guy owns everything.
Oh, wow.
So it used to be all 3 different companies competing against each other, like Quicksilver against Billabong, against Volcom, like
right.
All these board short companies competing, and now they're all one under one big umbrella. But not speaking about that, just traveling, and just with Wes, we would just meet every other month. Like every month we would meet in another country. Here we are in Argentina, then we're in Hungary, then we're in Germany. Now we're back in Spain, and boom, he comes to Latvia together with this whole Skate Mafia and Sweet team, and always, you know, going for a swim, going to the beach here and there, and I don't know, skating, partying, and skating and skating and skating. It's been amazing to be on Element in DC, and all of a sudden I'm on this DC super tour with all these guys going to do demos and signing sessions that last 2 to 3 hours, and I'm just there, all right, Chris Cole, that's why I'm signing this. You know? Chris Cole and Nigel and Evan.
Are you still on DC right now, or is it like, what's the situation with them? I don't know if you can talk about it much, but like, I was just curious to know. As I said, some people like Wes and Evan just left DC not too long ago, so.
They didn't leave. Me, Wes, Evan, Jaco, we all got told. People that have shoes could still stay another 6 months, but people without shoes, boom. 2 days before my contract finished, they called me like, hey, at least they called me. Some people they didn't call. Some people they just write a message like, hey, that's it. We're not going to renew your contract. After 10 years, you know. Basically, the team manager, John Gardner, didn't want to be the team manager anymore.
Okay.
So he just wanted to skate. So he just became a skater. So his position opened up. And above the team manager, Jimmy Astleford, he was the previous team manager. He got an offer from his boss, Jeff Taylor, like OG skater, used to work for DC. He went to work for some biking company, I forget the name, and he was like, hey Jimmy, come work for us. We got this big offer for you. So Jimmy's like, fuck. Within 1 month, Jimmy is leaving the company. So Jimmy is not there, John is not there. They're getting 2 new employees, team manager and the skateboarding global manager, whatever. And the bosses of these two guys are like, hey, we got to make these cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And Element got cuts like that too, but the Element didn't really fire any team writers. They just said, okay, we're not gonna do any ads in Thrasher, we're not gonna do any skate trips, and we're not gonna do any ads anywhere else, but we keep the team. And the DC guys were just like, no, we're gonna only keep, the Philly skaters, like fashion, go towards fashion direction, and I don't know. They did get Lucian Clark, so I don't know. I don't really know how the story really goes, but they fired probably like 15 skaters got fired.
Damn.
And they kept those Philly guys, and thankfully they kept Tainan Costa.
Oh yeah.
And Tainan's friend Adilson from Portugal. They remained on the team, so that's kind of cool at least. But otherwise, me, Wes, Evan, and Jaco were just like, I don't know what to do.
And so, most of these guys are still in the process of switching to other sponsors. What are you considering? Do you think you're going to try to find another home, kind of? Or
I'm trying to find another home for sure. I reached out to a lot of companies, and every company is nowadays firing people instead of looking for skaters. Well, there of course are some exceptions, but it's pretty tough. Might have to make some hard decisions in the next couple of days, so we'll see.
Just from an outsider perspective, I feel like it probably won't be too hard for you to find a good shoe deal, just because like you're a very well-known skater, established, and you have the Redbull show and everything. So for any brand to associate with you would be great, visibility.
That's just what you think.
I'm sure they will see it. If they don't see it that way, they're just missing out. So.
Yeah, I talked to Vans, and Fanner says in the next 2 years they're not getting any riders. He's just firing people.
Damn.
And then I talked to this homie who's doing the A6 program nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
And he says they don't even have my shoe size. Because their program is at the very beginning. Yeah, and then Nike, Adidas, Converse, Etnies, they're all like, nah, not really. I mean, Etnies was kind of down, just to send me some shoes and maybe involve me in some projects.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I kind of want to get paid a little bit too, because
for sure,
I don't think my skate career is going to be a long time. So, yeah, I got some Etnies. I skated in Etnies a little bit, and I skated in FB footwear a little bit. I've been skating those. Mm-hmm. Joey Brzezinski been hooking it up a little bit. But we'll see. I'm not really chaining myself down with anything yet.
Still figuring it out, kind of?
Mm-hmm.
And earlier you mentioned that Redbull kind of helped you to redo or build a lot of cool projects in Latvia. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about some of the projects. You mentioned like the National Library, I think, and the Museum of Art and stuff. What kind of projects have they helped you with?
Well, whenever Redbull approaches me, which they do every year, Redbull Latvia, almost every year, maybe one or a couple of years they didn't, and they say, hey, we got this budget, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I did some trips here and there around Latvia, and then I say I want to use this budget and create something that stays for longer than just 10 days and then a video online that has disappeared. The video has disappeared now from one tour. So we did a concrete skate park in this zone that was just outside the indoor skate park that it was there at the moment. Now the indoor is gone, but the concrete is still there, and we're still painting it, we're still fixing it. My friends are.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple years later, they built this super cool skate spot at the National Library, but they put shitty granite on top, shitty marble from China, like 1 centimeter thick with a hole underneath, so it just breaks super easy.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And I was like, hey, let's fix these ledges, let's make it skatable, and the timing was perfect, so it worked. I had to do a little bit of crowdfunding besides the Redbull project, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And then the National Museum of Art art, that was a bit maybe too much, because there I wanted to create something because it's the best flat ground in Riga, the best place to skate in Riga.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, we should build something there. And that was a big headache for my buddy to get all the permits and anything. And in the end, it was 2 years of bureaucracy, maybe even more. And we needed some extra financing. So he took it upon himself. My friend, who's the glass artist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So he was doing not just building and creating the glass art, but he did all the bureaucracy. He had to get like 6 different permits, and in the end, the last permit he goes to, they say, no, it's not possible. Have to like hire 2 different architects that would do the design and do all this paperwork. And in the end, he went to European Union and signed like a petition like for European Union money.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got another 20,000 euros from European Union to go through this project. And if he wouldn't have done that, it wouldn't have worked.
Okay.
Because it's just too much, There's like a Ministry of Defense right there. There's pipes underground. This ceiling where the good flat ground is like a ceiling where you cannot put anything heavy on. And then there's the people who move the snow in the winter, who mow the grass, who's gonna do the maintenance. And in the end, it was just a big headache, and my friend was almost losing it a little bit, but it's there, the spot is there, and it's very hard to skate.
Is that one of the spots that we see in the Jenkem piece that they just released?
The transition, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Transition to glass wall.
With there's like a little hole in there.
It's a window.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks cool. It looks hard to skate, but yes.
Yeah, it's very steep and it's very narrow. So some homies just skated there. I was there with Grey Area Skateboarding, the homies from Poland.
Nice. Yeah,
I was there with them last week. That was the tour.
Cool.
And they pretty much killed it on the transition.
Was Kuba there, I assume? Kuba Kuzmarczyk?
Yeah, there were 2 Kubas.
yeah.
Kuba the photographer and Kuba the filmer.
Right, yeah.
And then there was Ennis. Tom Remillard is there because he's got some Polish roots. And then some Polish homies. Fifi, homie from Croatia, Antonio, and homie from Ukraine, Sasha.
Koshevoi, yeah.
Yeah, and then the main man, Franek.
Oh, yes.
Franek is sick. Franek fucking killed it on the transition at the National Museum of Art. He ripped it.
Cool. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that footage. Yeah.
That was a cool trip.
Are there any other projects that you're working on right now in Latvia?
Well, Redbull Latvia wants me to build another thing. Well, it's supposed to be my idea, but in the end, it's my friends that build it.
Right,
I'm just the face. I don't know. No, but we're gonna do a mini ramp now. We've done 3 projects, so now they want to do number 4 and also make a little mini documentary about these 3 projects. And number 4 is gonna be a mini ramp with a roof at a local bar in Riga or something like that.
Nice.
So that's gonna be cool. I don't know. There's also a bunch of permits that they need to get, and this time it's Redbull that's gonna work on the permits, not the skaters.
Okay.
So let's see when they're building that. That's the Latvia project.
As we've been talking about throughout our conversation, you've traveled a lot these last 15, 20 years. Do you have kind of a favorite crew to travel with? You mentioned you were doing a lot of DC element trips. You just mentioned visual traveling. That must have been some cool trips as well. Redbull, do you have maybe a favorite crew of people to travel with?
I don't have any favorites because then I will forget someone, I'm not going to mention. But honestly, when people ask me favorites, I say I don't have favorites. They're all different and they're all nice.
Right.
But yeah, I can mention some names. Dave Huang. I like how Dave films, and I always stay with him in California. He's like an OG filmer. He filmed Adio One Step Beyond and some 411s, and
okay.
He's like Danny Montoya's homie and Chad Tim's homie. And of course, Wes, Joseph, Tyler, Nick Garcia, Gaston Francisco to shoot some photos because he's the homie. And yeah, there's too many people, too many people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just told you, that's the trip.
Actually, talking about visual traveling, I think Kenny Reed would be someone I'd love to see skate tales on. I don't know if he would agree to do an episode, but like he would be an interesting guy to go visit. Like I think he's mostly in Thailand training the national skateboarding team and stuff. That would be a pretty sick episode.
Yeah, Kenny is a good friend of mine and also a good friend of Gaston Francisco, who's the producer. So I don't think it would be an issue to film it on Kenny.
Cool, yeah.
We should go with Kenny to Pakistan and then film it there.
Yeah.
I think Nestor Judkins does something in Pakistan with some skaters there. I think maybe Kenny joined them, maybe.
Yeah. I think he's associated with his project Salad Days,
Salad Days, yeah. Nestor Judkins is on the list for sure.
Nice, cool. And so, again, as we said, like you've done a bunch of things in skateboarding. You've traveled all over the world. You got the European Skater of the Year for Kingpin. You got shoe colorway on DC. You filmed multiple video parts. You've had your own show on Redbull. What's left to do on your bucket list for skating? Like, I mean, of course, as you said, you will have a life after skating, after pro skating, but that's not yet. Like, we still have hopefully a solid 5 or 10 years or something of pro skating, I hope. But like, what's left to do on your bucket list?
I would say those 5 to 10 years, I would like to be a pro skater for 5 to 10 years more at least. You know, to get paid and skate and travel. That's kind of my goal. To not have to search for a job in the next 10 years, perhaps, you know. Otherwise, I want to surf and snowboard some more. So I would be all around a boarder.
Yeah.
Riding all different kinds of boards. Beyond boards.
Exactly.
But no like crazy bucket list. I just want to keep skating and doing what I love. That's about it.
So I usually wrap up with one question for me, which is, what would you say is like one of the most valuable lessons that you've learned from skating?
Well, mostly just endurance, I guess. I don't know. Not giving up on the tricks that I'm trying and then apply that same thing in life. But what has skateboarding taught me? It's basically like opened my mind, I guess, from traveling around the world and seeing all different people, seeing different ways of living and smelling and tasting different cultures and appreciating the life that I have back home where I'm from in Latvia and Lithuania. And skateboarding basically has opened my mind. I would say, kind of. Just to be more open to different opinions and accept different people and their thoughts and ideologies and being open. You know, skateboarding has taught me also to be open and accept and embrace things and enjoy, and you never know what's gonna come after. Just trying to like keep an open mind in a sense that not knowing is the best knowing, you know.
I just have a few friends questions for you. I'll have you listen to this very first one.
Madars, we all know that you are one with nature. You live accordingly to sustainability. You're a good human being, but why do you not recycle? What's the deal? How come every trick in your part is always different? I know we talked about this in Hong Kong recently, but I just want to emphasize, how do you go about figuring out what tricks you want to feature in your part, and how does your brain just come up with all these different maneuvers that you do once in your life and then you abandon forever? I feel like you're one of the kind, one of the few that has a video part that doesn't mimic or reflect the last one, and we all love you. Let us know the secret.
Too bad, Patrick, because the next part that's coming out is all recycled. No, I mean, I don't think about those things. But thank you, Patrick Wallner. I love you. And I just go to a skate spot and then I try to think of what I want to do. Sometimes it's like, oh, my dream would be to do this. Sometimes I just skate and then it comes to me like, oh, I could do this. So mostly it's just like that, but not like I plan very much. But I do recycle, you know. I do the frontside flip. I do the switch flip. I do a lot of 50-50s. I do firecrackers here and there. Maybe not in every part. Yeah, not really. On Instagram and whatever, I do handstands and firecrackers all the time.
Yeah.
But my video parts, I don't know about recycling my tricks. I just go to a spot and try to do something unique, something cool, and I'm sure a lot of skaters are like that. But yeah, thanks for noticing that. I didn't think of it that way because, I mean, I used to, like back in 2009, 2010, I was like, all right, for this part, I'm not gonna do a switch flip because in the last part, I did the switch flip, so I don't want to do a switch flip in this part. And that was a situation like that. But nowadays I'll just go to a spot and try to do my best.
Yeah.
But speaking of recycling, in my old skateboards, I give them away, and my friend uses them as recyclable material. Skateboarding is actually, it's very good to recycle stuff. Recycle boards, recycle shoes, recycle everything because we destroy a lot of shit.
Okay, this next question is from Tyler Surrey. So he said, what was your inspiration for learning handstands? Where did you learn them? And how long did it take you to feel comfortable upside down?
Well, my friends have something to do with it. Evan Smith, Nick Garcia, Mark Appleyard. I saw all of them learn it around the same time and try it. And I was like, oh, if you're trying, I'll try it too. Appleyard is trying handstand, I might as well try it too because
Yeah.
Appleyard is cool, maybe handstand is cool too. And then I did it, and once I learned it, I was like, oh, that's nice. So I did it every day, you know. After I learned it, every day I would do a handstand, probably for like 2 months or something. Every day, at least one handstand. And I got comfortable very soon, you know, very soon after, you know. The third day, the fourth day, I was already kind of comfortable. The landing part, I'm still not necessarily comfortable with landing because it's kind of hard if you go for a long time to land, but
Yeah.
handstand on a skateboard is much easier than handstand without a skateboard because you're rolling. It's like riding a bike. When you fall, you just lean to that side and it's straighten out. I can't really do a handstand without the board. I just do it with the board.
Really? Oh, interesting.
And it's fun, and the blood rushes to the head. It goes away from the feet. And when I'm sore on skate trips, I'm just like, oh, whatever. Today, I'll just do handstands. And if I'm at a skate spot and I want to skate, sometimes I'll just do a handstand first as like a means of warming up, and then I'll go skate.
Yeah. You're definitely bringing these handstands to a whole other level, like the handstand 50-50s, and that was maybe at Copenhagen Open, but you did like a rolling into the water, like a downhill thing.
Yeah.
That was pretty gnarly. I was thinking like, oh, if he fell from, like, he would have eaten so much shit. Like, anyways, yeah. I'm wondering where you're going to take them next, because that's pretty gnarly.
I just want to go for a long time. So far, my record is 1 minute. I want to do more.
Bombing a hill in San Francisco, maybe, doing a handstand, that would be also pretty impressive. But again, if you fall, you're going to just destroy yourself.
Yeah, one time I went down a bank and the bank was too steep and the compression was too big, so my elbow gave out and I went with my upper lip on the floor.
Wow.
But otherwise, it's pretty chill. It's a fun trick.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I've never done it, but it looks fun. Yeah, for sure. It is fun to watch. Yeah.
You don't need to be like a great skater to do it. Maybe a little bit of athletic.
Yeah, you need upper body strength. Yeah.
My friends that don't really even skate that much can do a handstand on a skateboard because they're like, oh, that looks cool. And I tell him, you can do it too. And he tries. And then after a couple of days, he's got it.
Okay, this next question is from, well, I'm not sure how to say his name. It is Goza Gerald from
Uganda.
Yes, thank you, yeah. So he said, what does skateboarding mean to Madars Apse?
Skateboarding to me is the act of rolling on a skateboard.
That's it.
Skateboarding to me is just the act of doing it. You know, rolling, jumping. That's the essence of skateboarding to me. Mm-hmm. But besides that, skateboarding to me is my life, my livelihood, my way of survival. And skateboarding to me is my savior. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It saved me in this world, in this life. It has helped me so much to be outside of skateboarding, just in life, you know, like with family and everything.
All right, the next one is from Phil. So I'm not sure how to say his last name.
Zvezin.
Yes, from Element. So he said, with the long legs he has, does he sag the rails less than other people that are not as tall? Or does he actually sag the rail more because he thinks with his long legs he can't sag a rail? What are the positives and negatives of being so tall?
Well, I can jump higher because I'm taller. I can go faster because my push should be stronger. And yes, definitely less sacking. And the negatives are that when you film, this spot looks small. I'm like a giant on a little spot. But for other people, the spot maybe will look big and they will do tricks, so that's a legitimate spot. But then I go there and I'm like, oh, nah, but whatever. Short skaters are really good too.
Of course,
and short skaters can go longer and whatever. But being tall, I always thought tall and lanky is like more style points. But of course, that's what my friends say. I mean, obviously, like Day One Song has got a great style, you know, and he's not tall.
Right.
So is Eric Costin and, you know, Shane O'Neill, you know, that you don't have to be tall. But the tall guys have maybe like more lanky kind of style, I feel like. Just more like flying in the wind, like a big flag in the wind, I don't know. Evan Smith, you know, Jake Johnson, Brian Anderson. Janoski isn't that very tall, but he's also up there, I feel like.
Okay, I have another one from Pirkka Polari, who you mentioned earlier, from Finland.
Yeah.
Former Element Europe teammate. So he said, what has been the most sketchy, scary situation you have ever been in during your travels?
That's off the record, man. I don't know, a sketchy situation in travels. I guess just being in a third world country next to police doing illegal stuff.
That's sketchy in itself, yeah, for sure.
It's at least very, very scary, you know. So I'm like, I want to step back. I want to really get out of there. And sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you have to bribe to get out of bad situations.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing that's illegal in the Western world, though, you know. But sketchy situations, yeah, it's been alright, you know. So far I've been lucky and thankful, and everything has been a blessing, you know. Just trouble with the cops.
All right, this one is from Kirill Korobkov. So he said, hi Madars, I'm very happy to know you in person. I'm glad I visited your homeland in Latvia. I've been to Venstpils for one of the Ghetto Games events. I saw where you came from. I admire your unique skateboarding, but I have even bigger respect for you for being the first skater from the post-Soviet part of the world who's made it internationally. You proved that despite your birthplace and national geography, it's still possible to get a colorway from the major international shoe brands and a pro deck from Element. You inspired and showed the path for many others. Thanks for that. Can you please name some of your favorite skaters from post-Soviet territories?
Damn. Probably Gosha Konishev, you know. Gosha is amazing. Gosha is probably my favorite. But otherwise, I'm not that familiar with the skaters. Syoma Kuznetsov skates contests is pretty good. But yeah, I don't know the names, but I know that there are like from the Rasvet guys.
Oh yeah.
They're really good. Ex-Soviet. I know that homies from Almaty, from Kazakhstan, skate pretty freaking good. And the video from Georgia that is on Free Skate Mag now, that video is pretty sick. Those guys
I haven't watched that one
killed
yet,
it.
Yeah.
Those guys killed it. But the names, I don't know their names, you know. Pasha Kuznetsov is pretty cool, but I feel like he's more of a character, you know. And then the OG Russian skaters, yeah, I don't really remember the names too much. But yeah, I used to watch skateboarding.ru and follow their scene a little bit. Yeah, I would just say Gosha Konishev. I hope he's filming, skating, and doing some more new shit. But, I mean, Yegor Kaldikov is really good at skating. Maxim Kruglov also. But those are already a little bit older, you know. The younger generation, I'm sure they're ripping. Sorry, Kirill, for not knowing.
No, that's great. You mentioned a bunch of people, so yeah, that'll work. Okay, I have another one from Chris Ray.
Oh.
So the first one is, what's one thing nobody knows about you? The second thing is, what's the first memory that comes to mind from your professional skateboard career? And the third one is, I've always seen you approach skateboarding as fun, despite it actually being a job for you. What advice do you have for young kids that want to be professional?
Well, I share everything about me, you know. And if it's something that I don't share with nobody, then I probably will not share it here. But something that I could say that nobody knows about me. I am a Lutheran. I'm a Christian, a Lutheran.
Okay.
But I am also open to other religions.
Sure.
And I never really talked about it. I've been on a 10-day meditation retreat called Vipassana, which is where you don't talk for 10 days, don't look at other people in the eyes, and just meditate for 12 hours a day.
I've heard about those, yeah. Okay.
So I'm spiritual. The first memory from being pro is very blurry because it was a party, you know. There was a party and there was some drinking, and Antoine Dixon showed up at my pro party.
Oh,
so
nice.
That was cool. But the first memory from being pro, I could just mention that like my friend used to call me pro even like way before I was pro, and I would just say, no, you're pro, and he's like, no, you're pro. He would already call me pro like 10 years before. And I was like, no, don't call me that, I'm not pro. And the third question, recommendation for kids, is to think about values. What you really care about. Why do you do what you do? What is really important for you? Because mental health is priority, and a lot of people in skateboarding don't feel like they are appreciated, that people appreciate them, and like they don't get sponsors and they get so frustrated. They really lose their mind, you know. So what I'm trying to tell is to be careful of what you choose to do and how you do it. And if you love skateboarding a lot, you can still skate, but perhaps you also need to do like a little job on the side so you can make some money to survive, but also skate as a hobby, because it's important to have food on the table, and it's important to have food for the soul so you're happy.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out, of course, maybe companies have to fire some guys, have to fire some skaters, and then the skaters think, oh my God, I'm not worth it, it sucks. But then you have to always take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and see life, you know, life outside of skateboarding. Like before you started skateboarding, look at other people living their lives, and feel the earth beneath your feet, and feel the wind and the sun, and appreciate life and living. And I know it can be tough, but life is real. You cannot get too addicted to stuff. You have to manage yourself, because your actions create consequences. And I am no saint. I'm not perfect myself, but I'm trying and learning daily, and I wish I could be a saint, but I'm not. But remember to smile and be happy and do good unto others, you know. And as I said, I'm a Christian, so since a young age I've always been brought up with these commandments of how you should be, how you should treat your neighbor as you would want yourself to be treated. And yes, religion has done bad in the world, and a lot of people have died because of religion, and there's a lot of wars and whatever, but they teach some good stuff, and a lot of religions in the world have the same lesson. I know they would say that they're completely different from each other, but I don't say that. I just look and pick the best stuff from everywhere, and then make my own understanding of it.
Sure,
And I love Islam, and I love everything, and I also love atheists. I understand their point of view, and it's important to believe, you know. I think religion is there just to believe, you know. You learn to imagine something, and you believe in that imagination, and this belief is something very valuable in other life, which has nothing to do with religion or anything. You have to believe. I have to believe in you, that you will ask me good questions and portray me in a good light in this podcast, and you have to believe in me that I will say yes to this podcast and I will be happy about it, and you have to believe that next month is going to be okay, and tomorrow will come, and the sun will shine tomorrow again, and after winter comes spring, you know. Belief is very important. Thank you, Chris Ray. I love you, Chris Ray.
Okay, this next one is from your girlfriend Agne. Is that how you say her name?
Yes, Agne.
Okay, so she said, you have been skating for a long time. How did your relationship with skateboarding evolve or change from when you started as a kid until now? Did your approach to it change?
Great question. She thought of the question for a long time. She spent many hours thinking of it.
Oh, she told you that I reached out to her?
Yes, but she didn't tell me the question.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Well, when I started, it was really about the act of skateboarding. Really about standing on the board and rolling, doing a rock to fakie, pushing over the whole skate park, and then doing a fakie tail stall on the big transition, and early grab indie over some spine ramps, and it felt good, but also I felt like my status was increasing because I wanted to be cool, you know, as a skater. When I was a kid, I wanted to be cool, so... But it wasn't so much about the status. It was more about feeling, and it kind of fulfilled me. I still knew that I was cool and whatever. But I always loved skating. I always wanted to get better and better and better. And getting first place in the contest kind of helped. But then later on, kept winning contests, kept skating, enjoying. I loved it. Learning new tricks was amazing. I loved skateboarding so much. Feeling the board control was amazing. And jumping on tricks and doing flip tricks and feeling the grip tape. And then you get injured and that sucks. And then skateboarding teaches you so much about injury.
Yeah.
And life. And then later on in life, you have to kind of, not have to, but I would start making money from it. And then I would share this money with my family and we would work together, helping my mom and my dad. But skateboarding has been always remaining the same. But now I'm 33, so I go to the skate park and I'm still skating. I still enjoy it. Still love it. I'm a bit heavier. It's a bit harder to do longer lines, perhaps. If I skate heavy one day, then the next day I'm a bit more sore. When I go to the skate park, I go kind of in the mornings. Not really in the mornings. I go afternoon, and usually it's just full of scooter kids. And then maybe there are 2 kids that are 13, 12, and I would skate with them. And I would be teaching them how to skate. So I'm more of like a coach or something, and it takes a bit more, like maybe I'm not skating with people of my age so much because at nighttime I want to spend it with my lady instead of going in the plaza and skating with the guys there. But in general, when I'm on a skate trip, it's the same kind of skate trip as it was before. How has my skateboarding changed over time is the question, yeah? Well, I get more sore. I can maybe pop a little bit less. I can do more technical tricks. And if I want, I could train my pop to be just as high or higher. Basically, it's the same skateboarding. It just takes more time to heal. I used to roll my ankle, chill for 10 minutes, and I could skate again. But that was when I was 20, you know, 18, 20, 21. At age 23 is when I started to notice, oh, I rolled my ankle. I need to chill for a couple days. And then I started getting serious injuries, like ripping ligaments and breaking bones and stuff. And now, definitely falling much less nowadays. I'm falling much less, but I make it a point to fall more because for me it's important. Because I want to skate like I used to. I want to stand it just as much and I want to fall and whatever. And I'm still trying and going for it. And now skateboarding to me doesn't come as natural. Now I have to, not have to, but I also focus a lot on going into the water, taking cold showers, stretching, eating good, sleeping good, drinking a lot of water, not drinking lots of alcohol. And nowadays, my whole life is around skateboarding. So all I do is think about it. But of course, I also take some days off. The last couple days, I've been playing a lot of video games on my phone.
Okay.
But I don't do it. I don't do it a lot. But yeah, that's the answer.
Okay, I have just a few last ones. This one is from the Fancy Lad crew.
Okay, Big Zo.
Yeah, so he said, it's a pretty funny question. Have you ever considered putting pants on your arms and a jacket on your legs while doing a handstand?
Huh. Then you would need a fake head as well coming out of my pants. And then I would have 2 heads. But that's a great idea. I have considered it, you know, I have thought about doing something like that. But then I would need a mannequin head. I'm sure the Fancy Lad guys have it.
Okay.
Miss those guys.
That was a cool episode. Yeah, they're really rad.
So many laughs. So much laughing.
I'm sure, yeah. Okay, this next one is from Edward Gaba.
Yes, I knew you were gonna have a question from Gaba.
Okay, cool. So it's not really much of a question, but I'm just gonna read you what he said, and maybe you can develop a little bit on that.
Okay.
I was always hyped on Madars living in Latvia. He probably had a chance to move to the States and be closer to the industry, etc. But he still stayed around here, which is so rad and humble of him. I love that. I don't know if you're going to cover that, but if you don't, you could bring this up. He's also really competitive. We organize many events here in Riga, like a game of skate championship or King of Magba type contest. I invite Madars, and I always think he won't take it seriously. He'll just chill, but everything he enters around here, he wins. Well, 90% of the things for sure. And I always thought that even though he went so far in his career, he's still competitive on the local level. He will put in a good fight. I like that because he treats his local scene as serious as he treats all other more important things for his career. That is so rad.
A little bit too serious. Sometimes. But yes, I wanted to win that contest at the library where it's like the king of library.
Okay.
I tried very hard, and I feel like I tried too hard. Everybody else was not taking it serious, and I was just like, I have to take this. I don't know. And then when there's like a contest in my hometown, the Ghetto Games, there's like a Mr. Arturs Bogdanovic. He's the local skater that travels the world and participates in those contests that lead up to the Olympics. And last year he beat me. And this year I was like, no, I have to do my best. I have to prove that I'm still good. I'm not old and I want to do good. So I try to do good in the contests in Latvia, because in contests outside of Latvia, everybody skates too good. so I can never win. Of course I try. I can't even get to the semis. Sometimes I can. I get to the semis, but then to get to the finals, it's like, I mean, I try always. And yes, I always wanted to be close to Latvia because that's where my mom, my dad is, and my sister. My brother now lives in Holland, but he still comes to Latvia. And I am just Latvian, you know, like this is where I grew up, and I believe it's cool to stay close to your roots. And now that I'm here, I really appreciate it. You know, I walk out by the river and I smell the same things that I smelled when I was 6 years old. You know, I still feel the same things, and I remember how it was to be a child. And I mean, of course, I could have the same smell as somewhere else in other countries too. It's possible, just a bit less often. And I think I want to be close to Latvia because this is the family, you know, this is where I grew up, this is where I'm from, this is where my roots are, and this is where I'm making my roots even stronger, you know.
Yeah.
I got some apartments that my mom is renting in Airbnb, so I'm not planning to move anywhere. And I do live in Lithuania, which is next door, pretty much the same country. And for that reason, I also moved here. I mean, for meeting Agne, this beautiful, nice lady, and we're both from around the same area, and it's super cool. So just wanted to stay close to here, and we could still move to other places and go live somewhere a little bit to do something, but we will always come and return here. Just gotta learn that Lithuanian language, which is similar to Latvian.
Yeah. Can you understand it?
Maybe 30% or something. I still need to learn. I haven't studied.
Okay.
But it's similar.
So what language do you speak with Agne? Like English?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
With her parents, I speak Russian.
Oh, Russian. Okay. Wow. How many languages do you speak? Like four? Four. Okay.
4.
So English, Latvian, Russian,
and Spanish.
Oh, Spanish. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you were living in Barcelona, so yeah.
I can still speak a little bit. Not very good, but I can speak it.
Well, yeah, because you're not living there anymore. But I'm sure if you went to Barcelona, it would come back easily.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is from Michael Macrot from Visual Traveling from Berlin. So he said, Madars is someone who has changed a lot in his skateboarding since he grew up super fast. I met him when he was like 15 years old on an Element tour, and every time I saw him again, he had progressed so much. It was nuts. I guess that's normal at that age, but it seemed pretty extreme in his case. I love the video where he goes skydiving and faints/passes out. Did he have the balls to jump from a plane since then, or did his doctor advise him against it? Always nice to cross paths with him and see that he hasn't changed in terms of attitude, always super positive.
Yeah, I love Michi. I remember when I went to south of France for an element team meeting and we were partying and drinking, and with Michi we were doing play fighting, you know, like throwing beer at each other and wrestling with Michi and Phil.
Okay.
It was super good times, and Michi is super rad guy.
Yeah.
And the skydiving was fake. I pretended to pass out, and not many people believe me because they think I'm just lying because I'm ashamed of passing out. But no, I pretended to do it.
Okay.
And I told, when we were on the ground, I told my instructor, like, hey, what if I pretend to pass out as skydiving? Because I feel like I've seen videos of other people passing out. And I was like, oh, I'll pretend to do that too. And he said, yeah. I'll hit you on the head to pretend to wake you up. So it was perfect.
Okay.
And it was not nearly as scary as it was bungee jumping. Bungee jumping,
Oh, yeah.
I had to close my eyes.
I would rather skydive than bungee jump for sure.
Yeah. But thank you, Michi, for the nice words.
Okay, there's two last ones. This one's from Norris Dollins. Is that how you say his name?
Dolins is from Dustin Dolan.
Oh, okay. It's not his actual last name. Okay.
Nauris Kazakhs.
Okay. So he said, ask him what happened with the car that experienced a fish soup explosion.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
He said, we had to drive around in that car all day during a Redbull photo shoot, and even minus 25 degrees Celsius wasn't helping with the smell. Apparently there was some sort of fish soup explosion in the car.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah. Of course. Now I remember. I completely had forgotten, but it was, my mom made some delicious fish soup, super delicious, and I put it in like a thermos.
Right, yeah.
And it was too filled up or something and too hot. And then I put it in the van, and because from the cold outside and the hot inside, like the hot inside was expanding and the cold was compressing.
Yeah.
So it kind of opened up and blew up and went all over the car, inside on the chairs and everything. And and we tried to wash it, couldn't wash it, and it's fish soup. So, you know, fish stinks.
Yeah,
Stinks
it
a lot.
smells very strong.
I think it was like the whole trip we had to smell this thing. It was good times, lots of good times.
All right, let's finish with this very last one.
Hey Matters, what's up, dude? Dan Mancina, one of your blind friends here. What's going on, brother? I got a question. So in all of your travels, all the places you've been, what is like the group of skaters or like country or city you've been where they're just the most, like, I guess, resilient or stoked on skating? Like, we're pretty spoiled here in the U.S. with spots. Where's the place you've been where there's just like the crummiest, worst, sketchiest spots, but the group of skaters there are just like, just making it happen and just the most, you know, just down and grateful and just making it happen. Hope you're good, brother. Miss you.
Miss you, Dan. The shittiest spots and the greatest attitude. Probably in Latvia, where I'm from. Homies have shit spots, but they're all skating flat ground and having lots of fun, you know. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this morning I watched the homies from Uruguay. In Uruguay there, Montevideo, they have great skate scene. And the spots I don't think are the best, but the guys really skate so good and make such nice videos. And they're all posted on Thrasher, and I'm just thinking to myself like, whoa. These guys are really motivated, you know, they have a good skate scene and, you know, and they have a skate shop, you know, a good skate shop too, but otherwise it's just them that does it, you know. I don't think they even have like great skate parks or anything. I kind of miss those guys. And then in Kazakhstan, the homies that I said from Almaty, they skate really good too. They make their videos and there it's middle of Asia, and I don't think that the government really understands what they're doing, and the city council doesn't really support with skate parks, but they are passionate skateboarders and they're doing it for the love. And when I went to Uzbekistan, those guys got in the car and came to meet me, you know, like Not many pro skaters come to their area, and they got in the car for 8 hours and just came to say hi and skate with me, and I really appreciate it. And now I'm looking at their videos and they're killing it, you know. Not to say that's because of me, but they just skate on their own accord and do good tricks that are recognized globally, at least I think. I mean, at least in the ex-Soviet countries, you know, people recognize what they're doing there. And I imagine also South Africa, skaters are sick. I've never been, and I know that South Africa is also a little bit poor and the ground is rough and the skating is tough.
Yep.
But they have some amazing skateboarders come out of there. You know, they have just a good heart, you know, good heart in those people.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
And then...
What about Uganda? Like, I mean, that must have been a pretty wild trip, yeah.
Yeah, Uganda, Ethiopia... Also, there's other countries in Africa that have good skate scenes or like good skateboarding. And there it's mostly skate park. Those guys, they build this one skate park and they skate. But in Uganda, obviously, those guys are world famous, skating that one skate park.
Yeah.
And they're doing tricks that nobody's ever done. And they just keep going next level. Now Adidas is sponsoring them, and then they go to sometimes to contests. Participate in those Olympic qualifier contests, and that's definitely like rough. One of the poorest countries in the world, and those guys skate and they kill it, and they do tricks that other people don't do, like laser flips, big spin heel flips, 360s and 360 flips, and skating the rails, and nothing is impossible as long as those guys get boards. You know, people keep sending them boards, then they keep skating. If not, then not. I know that when I was there, we were also collecting money to create another skate park, and I really hope that they succeed in creating a skate park on the land that they own, or they want to buy land to create a new skate park.
Okay.
So they would be proprietors of their own, but... You know, skateboarding is just such a thing that thrives in the worst conditions. And that is why I'm not really worried about the quality of skateboarding or like the Olympics coming into skateboarding and ruining it, because skateboarding is always going to be okay. Like, even if the conditions are bad, like Jake Phelps said, you know, skateboarding doesn't owe us anything. Skateboarding owes us hitting a little rock while bombing a hill in the rain and eating shit, you know. That's what we deserve. That's what we get from skateboarding, you know. Skateboarding doesn't owe us nothing, you know. Skateboarding doesn't need us. We need skateboarding. And
very true.
Uganda, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Latvia. I feel like Israel too, you know. Those guys are not in Europe, they're not in Asia, they're like in between. They have skate spots, but they're just their own little universe, and they killed it. They had this new video like a year or two ago on Thrasher, and they're killing it, skating big rails and big gaps and so tech and everything. That, it's amazing. And then Dan Monsina is the guy who's asking this. Most humbling.
Yeah, for sure. Very inspiring.
Yeah.
All right, well, we can wrap it up here. Yeah, thank you so much, Madars. This was really interesting and fun, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you, Quentin. Thanks for reaching out.
That's it for my conversation with Madars. Follow him on Instagram at Madars Apse, MADARSAPSE. Make sure to go check out all of his video parts from the last 15 years, as well as the Cuatro, sueños, pequeños film by Thomas Campbell that we talked about. And of course, go watch or rewatch all episodes of his show Skate Tales on the Redbull website or on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon for a new episode of Beyond Boards.